Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Hello.
Welcome to the Thursday video. And welcome to a video that I'm actually really excited about.
So Oprah Winfrey interview style.
We're doing an interview-style little discussion about Ryan's experience working at Plato's, because he worked there for like 5 years.
5.5, almost 6.
So instead of just doing a little we just rattle off some questions and whatever, we thought that we'd make it a little fun. Mm-hmm. So we're actually doing it interview style, kind of like Oprah Winfrey does. Or if you watch YouTube videos, the Smosh,
Anthony Padilla,
like interviews with people. We wanted to kind of style it like
sit down tell-all style expose.
Yes, to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm super excited for you guys to see it. So let's go right into this interview. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Flipped Thrift, Let's Not Rift. Today, I am joined by our special guest, Ryan Thrift Finds. I don't know about that as a last name, but apparently that's all that he'd tell us. Anyways, today we unfortunately do not have a studio audience here due to the lovely panorama known as Janine 19, but we do have you people at home, and that's all that matters. Today, we are going to be talking about Ryan's experience working at everybody's favorite buy-sell trade store, Plato's Closet, and how that was. He's going to answer some questions for us. I have some. We have some submitted by people on Instagram and viewers, and we're super excited. Now, everyone, please join me in welcoming Ryan Thrift Finds. Please have a seat. Today we have some questions from some lovely viewers and from Instagram, as well as I have made some questions myself. Thank you anyone that submitted a question, and let's get into this. So Ryan, let's start off with an easy one, kind of a little intro one. How long did you work at Plato's Closet? When did you start? When did you finish? And what positions did you work when you were there? Were you a buyer? Were you a cashier? Did you work your way up to manager? How did all that go?
I started working for Plato's when I had just turned 15. I was a sophomore in high school. I started as a regular cashier, making Iowa minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. And I very slowly worked my way up to becoming a buyer, which is the person that goes through your clothing when you bring it in, the subsequent dollar raise that came with that. And then I left when I was 19 after my summer of my freshman year, in between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I was never a manager. I was never any higher ups because they knew I was leaving, so they didn't bother to train me on anything that was a little that advanced.
So one viewer asked, since we say buy-sell trade all the time when we're talking about Plato's Closet, they think of it as a consignment store, but what really is the difference between a buy-sell trade store and a consignment store?
Yes, so consignment is you get paid when the item sells. So you drop your stuff off, they process it, they mark it at whatever they're going to price it at, and then when the item sells is when the money goes into your account. A buy-sell trade store is upfront. So once you sell the item, it's no longer yours, it goes to the company. And the money that you make from it that's the money that you would have made from consignment. It's just a little bit faster.
Do you think that someone like a reseller can really make money this way, or is this really something for people that just want to get rid of their old clothing?
No, you really can't make money. It's a really beneficial to a buyer's market. So I love finding good deals at Plato's Closets and buy-sell trade stores. Unfortunately, they don't really pay you that much for anything. The one that I worked at specifically was we had to tell people that they would get a third of what the item was priced at, which is low because things aren't priced very high. So you don't make much money unless you're getting things from the bins. Then you can make an extra buck or two, but most of the time you don't make any money at all.
Could you explain to us what the thought process is behind what Plato's Closet takes? Is there a criteria? I know things probably have to be in decent condition, but is there certain styles, years that they take, etc.?
So back when I was there, I know things have changed since I left, because now they are starting to look more towards vintage as a better option to sell to people, because people like wearing secondhand things. They like wearing things that are vintage. They like all the styles. Back when I was there, we weren't allowed to take that, but I still took them because they always sold, so duh. Which I got yelled at a couple of times, but that's fine. They do try to stick in between that 1.5 to 2 year out of the store range, which is actually,
seriously?
I always thought that was really small. Especially like if it's just a pair of jeans and they're 3 years old, they look just the same as a pair of jeans that are 2.5 years old. Like, it doesn't matter. I would always check the kind of stuff, which they weren't always too happy about, but that's okay. But they do check date codes. They do check brands. A lot of mall brands in particular change their labeling every 6 months. Every typically like fashion cycle, they'll change a brand or they'll change something. So they look for those small changes and things, and they do really pay attention to if there's any stains on items, brands especially, like newer brands versus older. They do really pay attention to that because you get yelled at if you don't. They don't like that.
So do you feel like Plato's Closet is a good place to source for people that are resellers, or are the prices too high?
Yes. So a lot of the time, the people working at these Plato's Closets are teenagers making minimum wage that don't really put too much effort into their job because it's just a day job. It's just, it was just a job. It wasn't anything fancy. So the items that are like lesser known brands, obviously they definitely know like the Coach, the purse, like the really expensive purse brands, like really commonly known expensive clothing brands, they are very familiar with, and those get marked up. But a lot of the time, some Anthropologie brands that necessarily don't really say Anthropologie anywhere, those would get marked at a typical lower grade because they just don't know what they are.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of very good opportunities to source at these places. Take advantage of other people's lack of information.
One viewer was wondering, do you or any of the people that you worked with ever prejudge the items that are coming in based off of who is bringing them in?
No, we didn't. The only time I would really prejudge is if I could smell the person before I saw them. And but what I mean by that is a lot of the time in terms of like smoke odors, that was a big no-no, because when you buy something, it doesn't immediately go out to the floor. It goes into backstock. And these backstock are big 64-gallon Christmas bins with the date the item was purchased, the tag, and all this other information, and they sit there until you need them. So if something smells like cigarettes or a different kind of smoke odor, it sits in that tub and everything else around it smells. So we definitely did have to prejudge based off of smell. If somebody brought in a bag and I could smell the bag as I'm picking it up, I'm not even going to go through it. I am just going to say, I'll pass. It smells like smoke. Next.
One person asked, why are the employees of Plato's Closet always so rude?
Okay, so look at it this way. You never get paid much money. A lot of the time, Plato's make minimum wage, and these are teenagers dealing with people and clothing. People have this really weird attachment to their clothing, like they think it's worth a ton of money, when in reality it's not. So when you say, I'll pass, your things are out of style, I'll pass, these things are too professional, that was always a big one. It was when people that worked in a corporate setting would bring in like dress pants and suit sets, and I didn't take any of it because 12 to 24-year-olds aren't wearing dress pants and suit sets. They would get really mad. And obviously, if you stand there and just get yelled at all day, you're not going to be in the best mood all the time. So treat the attitude with a grain of salt. I know that these kids are just a product of their environment.
So what kind of items would you say that Plato's Closet takes differently than other buy-sell trade stores? Like, how do they differ in their market or the items that you can bring them?
I think Plato's definitely did try to stick in the like pretty well-known mall brand market. We did try to take some things like from online boutiques that we knew were popular or like really trendy styles, but most of the time it's pretty consistent across the board.
I kind of thought so. Do Plato's Closet employees actually look at the dates, the date tags or date numbers on items, like how American Eagle has that little tag with the date? Does that really matter? And also branching off of that, as a reseller, should someone cut those tags out? Or are you guys kind of on to that?
So it depends on the buyer. Usually, if there's no date tag, you go off of the label. I'll use American Eagle as a big example because there is a definite distinction between the newer American Eagle label and the older American Eagle label. So if there isn't a date tag, I can assume that the older label is from at least 3 to 4 years ago. So even if you don't have the date tag in it, like you're not going to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. They know. We get trained.
One person was wondering, what is the percent payout that Plato's Closet does? Does it differ from location to location or state to state?
So corporate-wide, it's typically a third, which is 33%, and we can... So here's a misconception. The buyer can alter the payout in the computer system. So if we are paying somebody on a designer item, like a designer purse, a designer pair of shoes, typically we do, or I was always told to increase the payout just so like the person selling a new Michael Kors purse doesn't get $40. They get a little bit more.
Okay, that should help a lot of people out, I think. Somebody asked, why did I bring in items and I only got $3?
Picky. They're very, very picky. And I think a lot of the time it depends on the person you get. And again, going back to my initial statement of these are teenagers that don't necessarily have the best working conditions in terms of customer base. A lot of the people get very hostile very quickly. So they take that out in terms of they don't really take much. or they don't like their job and they don't go through the bag as well as they should.
So if you were talking directly to a reseller, how often would you tell them to come back and check for new inventory? Obviously, you guys are getting in items continuously, but would you say someone should come in maybe once a week or once a month for a new fresh set of inventory?
Typically, I would stop in every once, like week and a half. The turnover rate is extremely fast. Things do not last on the floor very long. We put out, my store specifically was the top 3 in the US. And we would put out a lot of new items a day. So there is a lot of room to find new good things, new good brands, new good deals. But typically, if you're going to like the regular run-of-the-mill Play-Dohs, I would say about every week and a half. Or follow them on Instagram. They typically put very like big ticket items in terms of like popular brands, popular styles, really trendy items on the social media pages. So keep an eye out on those.
Did you ever like remember specific people or specific items where you knew that they were bringing in the same things over and over? Are you on to that, or are people really fooling you guys?
Yes. That happens all the time. We're not idiots. I know that you bring in the same tub of stuff. You put 2 things on top. I'll look at those 2 things and I'm like, wow. Well, it says that she sold to us 4 days ago, and this is the same stuff. So I'm not going to take any of it. I'm not even going to look.
I kind of thought so. Okay, so let's move on to some fun ones. What would you say is the craziest experience that you ever had working at Plato's?
The shoplifting is pervasive and awful. I was bit by a shoplifter. She bit me in the boob after trying to steal 4 pairs of Rock Revival jeans. And it was worse because it wasn't just my managers were there. It was the boss, like the owner of the store was there and got attacked with me. And I'm still mad that they put the 16-year-old little white kid to go fend off the shoplifters. I've had so many crazy stories of people trying to shoplift. They cut their finger open, they bleed all over the fitting room. I had to clean that up. That was great. People taking things into the bathrooms, trying to rip sensors off.
Wow, seriously?
People standing there screaming at me, cursing at me because I didn't take their god-awful stained, nasty clothing. A lot of the time, it is really sad, but the homeless people do, unfortunately, just bring in literally anything they can. So I've had to deal with dirty needles. I had a Diva cup at one point, which was just amazing. You do see a wide variety of very colorful characters coming into these places, which I think lends itself to because it's cash in the spot and it's really easy money if you know what you're doing.
What would you say is the weirdest item that you came across in someone's consignment bin or consignment bag?
The Diva cup I had to take a step back. I really did. Dirty needles was another one that was great. And so when I don't know, the policies were never like really explained to me. I always just kind of like stopped whatever I was doing. I didn't take anything. If I had items that I was going to take and I found something like that, I would put everything back in the bag. I would get gloves. I would go get another big trash bag from the back and wrap it up and just kind of set it there. Just leave it.
What was the bougiest item that someone specifically brought to you and you did the buy for that person?
So when I was at Plato's, I had a gentleman come in and I would usually work after school on weekdays and then sometimes in the mornings on weekends. And I had a gentleman, really sad story, called me on the phone earlier and said, oh, my wife just passed away. You know, I have all her clothes and I don't know what to do with. And I was like, yeah, I can bring him in. And thankfully the store next to mine was the Style Encore, which is the same concept as Plato's, but the demographic is a little bit older, a little bit more professional. And he brought in I think it was a 2015 pink Chanel tweed suit set. And I didn't touch it. I said, this is too nice for either of these stores. You might want to look into a higher end consignment option. That was wild, but it was pretty though. It was nice. He was a super nice dude.
So all in all, how was it working there? What did you think? How did you feel being a Plato's employee? Looking back, how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts on being a Plato's employee?
The coworkers were amazing. I did meet some very amazing people. I was very well connected with the managers of the store. They were very nice to me. The employees were very nice. A lot of us were the same age, so we would go out after work and go get food and do all these really fun things. It really was a really fun little community. Some of the customers were very polite. I still have friends from Des Moines that I met that sold me clothes. They were very nice people. But you do definitely remember the crazies. You remember the really, really weird ones.
And the last question that we have for you is, how do you feel nowadays when you walk into a Plato's Closet? Is it different when you walk into, say, a random one in Minnesota versus the one that you worked at? How do you feel being in Plato's Closet as a reseller now, knowing that you used to work at one and knowing how they work?
Part of me is definitely like kicks into buyer mode. And I'm just like, why would they take this? This is old, or this has a stain, or this is this, or like, this is just ugly. But, you know, I don't work there anymore. So I think it is a little fun to see what people take and to see what kind of things slip through the cracks. Because I know in my experience, I had things that I missed that I didn't notice. But I do definitely have a better understanding of what things to specifically look out for and what categories of items specifically will be undermarked in terms of like brands that I'm looking for that are not going to be very expensive. Tops, shoes, some designer denim brands they haven't quite caught on yet. But I have noticed, especially with reselling becoming very popular and secondhand circular fashion becoming really notable, Winmark Corporate has started to really pay attention to those like smaller, little more niche designers, and they are starting to get marked up. Which that was never the case when I was there. It's never weird to be in one because it is a good opportunity to source. And I think now I haven't worked there in so long, and it's just kind of like going to a different store, just going to like a regular buy sell trade store. Like I don't really feel any like longing to be like, oh, I want to go buy, or like, oh, I miss doing this. Like it is just now like I'm gonna go to Plato's Closet and I'm gonna go shop there. That's kind of it. The disconnect is starting to set in.
Oofda.
So we learned some things. I don't think we exposed anybody.
No, we didn't. But
common knowledge.
Yeah, but I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I hope it clarified kind of like maybe why you don't have the best time selling as a reseller there.
Why do teenagers always just act like teenagers?
Plato's is Plato's. It's not...
You know, it really is.
It's not like my favorite place, my favorite consignment store to bring stuff to sell. I prefer like Clothes Mentor and stuff, but also...
I do like shopping there.
Yeah. But also, I feel like we resell, or at least I resell geared more towards, like, more mature audiences.
I am the perfect Plato's seller person.
Yeah.
Thanks to 12 to 24-year-olds that are not very expensive.
I'd say it's nice to shop, though, because they definitely still don't know. Like, they are picking up on some brands.
And they will never know everything.
They will never. Just like the thrift stores. The thrift stores are picking up on stuff, too. So, like, everyone learns and learns, but...
Just gotta stay one step ahead of them.
There are so many brands out there that...
Mm-hmm.
And they still, the margins still sometimes, even if they do mark it up, it's still, you can easily make a lot of money.
The Plato's definition of marking it up versus like the Savers definition of marking it up, pocket change. The Plato's version looks like pocket change.
Yeah, so let us know what you guys thought of this, like, style of video. Should we ever bring back flipped thrift? Let's not riff.
I think that's hysterical.
Should we have a different guest? Should we like answer some other questions that way? I don't know. Did you guys like this style? I hope you did. We just wanted to spice it up and make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah. So I hope you guys liked it. Fun little Thursday video. And we will see you, if you missed it yesterday, we had a second channel video, and tomorrow we're having a second channel video, and then of course on Saturday we're having
a good old Westfield Saturday.
Westfield Saturday. So we will see you guys either tomorrow or Saturday for Westfield Saturday. Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
Bye.